Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2023 Japanese Grand Prix, a race around one of my favourite tracks on the calendar. I love seeing these cars around Suzuka. It is a proper old school track with some iconic corners that is steeped in F1 history and over the years has given us some great racing. Not every year, of course, they can't all be classics, but still some great memories as I immediately flash back to the year 2000 and remember that day Michael Schumacher took his first title for Ferrari. Was that really 23 years ago? Wow. Anyway, enough of all of that waffle. Let's get on with the preview, starting as we always do with a look at the track and all the usual stuff that follows. So last time out, F1 was at Marina Bay for the Singapore Grand Prix, where Carlos Sainz took his second career win and, of course, ended Red Bull's run of 15 consecutive F1 victories. What a thrilling end to that race on Sunday. Mind-boggling. But now it is on to Japan for the 16th race of the championship season. A lap of the, frankly, wonderful Suzuka International Racing Course is 5.807 kilometres long. If you prefer that in miles, that is just over 3.6 and is made up of 18 corners with a race lap record of a 1:30.983 set by Lewis Hamilton in 2019. And come Sunday, there are 53 laps scheduled. Of course, last year we only got 28 laps in thanks to the rain. Hopefully that won't be an issue this time around, though. More on the weather shortly. There will be just the one DRS zone in action this weekend to help open up some overtaking opportunities, and that runs, as it always does, down the start-finish straight, with the detection point for that zone just after 130R, or turn 15 if you prefer, but 130R really. Overtaking is possible though, with the first couple of corners, the hairpin and the final chicane probably the best spots to try and get a move done, and over the years we have seen some very famous moves at those corners, some more controversial than others. Since its debut on the F1 calendar as a World Championship event back in 1987, Suzuka has hosted 32 races, with Michael Schumacher holding the record for the most race wins at the track with 6. And last year, Max Verstappen led home teammate Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc to win the race and clinch his second Drivers' World Championship title, a fact he wasn't aware of until he was told by Johnny Herbert in his post-race interview, if you remember. Quite the bizarre moment. Now, before we move on, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Head Out for sponsoring this week's preview. In case you didn't know, Head Out is a ticketing company offering you tickets to experiences and attractions around the world. They also offer the best F1 race weekend tickets at some amazing prices. With F1 heading to the United States in a month's time, you have the chance to get your hands on weekend passes to the race for just $300 US. This includes access to fan zones, concerts, and because it's a sprint weekend, a total of 2 F1 races. Seems like a bit of a steal to me. I've never been to COTA. I would love to go, but I have done Silverstone a few times, and there is so much going on off track as well as on it. If you do get the chance to attend a race weekend in person, I highly recommend it. There is usually a great atmosphere, and it's a fantastic experience. And the first 10 people to use the code F1WORD300 can get the offer of weekend passes for just $300 US. Hurry though, as the code is limited to just 10 usages. Also, you might want to stick around to the end of the video because I'll be putting 2 coupon codes somewhere on screen which will give 2 people 1 free ticket each. So make sure you grab those codes as soon as you see them and head on over to headout.com via the link in the video description to redeem them. And let me know over on Twitter if you were able to get yourself a free ticket. Good luck. And of course, the US Grand Prix in October will be the second of 3 races in the United States this year, and depending on how things go in Japan and Qatar, Max Verstappen could arrive in Austin as a 3-time world champion or be looking to clinch title number 3. That is a lot of 3s, which is very good news because 3 is also the number of dry tyre compounds available across a race weekend. Oh yes, people, it is that time again. It is tyre talk time. The compounds available for this one are almost the hardest in the Pirelli range. You could say the hardest because we never see the C0. And they are the hard C1, the medium C2, and the soft C3. Now, Suzuka is a demanding track for tyres thanks to the high lateral and vertical loads involved. And Pirelli adds that those demands are actually fairly equally distributed across all 4 tyres. The asphalt around Suzuka also features some of the highest levels of roughness and abrasion on the calendar, and so wear and degradation will need to be managed during the race, which I know is the case at every Grand Prix, but with those circuit characteristics, it's even more important this weekend. For what it's worth, which honestly isn't really a lot, last year's winning strategy was officially a 2-stopper, although 1 tyre change did take place during the early red flag, but it was either inters or wets in use, and we didn't see the dry tyres at all during the race. The winning strategy in 2019, of course, the last time F1 raced in Suzuka before 2022, was also a two-stopper, but there was a good mix of one and two-stop strategies at play. And to be fair, two stops could well be worth a go, as the total pit lane lost time is a fair bit lower than it was last time out in Singapore, with most trips through the pit lane, including the time it takes to change tyres, being largely between 23 and 25 seconds according to the FIA. When it comes to safety cars, over the years, 10 F1 races around Suzuka have featured at least one virtual or full safety car appearance, including a brief one before the early red flag last year. All of that will, of course, play a huge part in strategy. It is also worth a quick mention that on Friday, the teams will get the chance to test a new C2 tyre compound with a view to getting that homologated in time for 2024, with Pirelli confirming that each driver will have 2 additional sets of tyres for the first 2 free practice sessions. The weather could be a factor when it comes to safety cars and strategy, especially if it's a hot one, which will increase the degradation suffered by the tyres. And at time of recording, it is forecast to be fairly warm, but it looks set to stay dry for the most part. Friday has a 40% risk of some rain falling for much of the day, with highs of 27 and 28 degrees forecast for FP1 and FP2 respectively. Saturday, though, is expected to stay dry with highs of 28 degrees forecast for the start of qualifying. And on Sunday, it is also expected to stay dry, although there is currently a 30% chance of a shower during the race. So as Martin Brundle would say, a 70% chance it will stay dry, with highs of 27 degrees in time for lights out. And your schedule for this one is honestly one of my favourites of the year because it's all happening nice and early here in the UK. So FP1 gets things going on Friday from 3:30 AM BST, and FP2 starts later that morning at 7 AM. Saturday's track action starts with FP3 at 3:30 AM with qualifying underway from 7 AM. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 6 AM, and once again that is in UK time. Now before I make my predictions, there are a few things I think are well worth a mention ahead of the weekend's action. First up, despite some rumours on social media saying otherwise, Lance Stroll is fit and ready to race again this weekend. In case you missed it, the Canadian was pushing hard through the last corner in Singapore to try and make up for the fact he wasn't improving during his final qualifying run when he lost his car and crashed heavily into the wall. Aston Martin decided that due to the big repair job needed and the fact he was still sore following the impact, Stroll would not race on Sunday and would instead focus on recovering in time for Japan. And Stroll took to social media on Wednesday morning to simply say, quote, "Thank you for all the kind messages, ready to race this weekend," with Aston Martin also confirming to Mirror F1 that the Canadian is set to race as planned in Suzuka. Elsewhere, McLaren has announced Oscar Piastri has signed a contract extension with the team just 15 races into his F1 career, keeping him at the team until at least the end of 2026. Piastri said he is thrilled to be extending his deal and wants to be fighting at the front of the grid with McLaren. Andrea Stella described it as an easy decision to make and added that Piastri has been constantly impressing the team with his performance, his work ethic and his attitude, and it is brilliant for the team to have his vote of confidence as they push to win world championships again in the future, with Zach Brown pretty much echoing those words. I should also quickly add, keep an eye on the news because it is reported by AMUS that Yuki Tsunoda is apparently expected to be confirmed that Suzuka is staying with AlphaTauri for 2024. However, as I sit here and record this, there has been no official confirmation, but if there has been any news between me saying this and the video going out, there will be some info on screen now. And finally, for this part, Max Verstappen can't wrap up his 3rd world title this weekend. I mean, it'll happen eventually, just not in Japan, but Red Bull could steal the Constructors title on Sunday, and here is how. Red Bull currently have a lead of 308 points over Mercedes and 332 points over Ferrari, with the team needing at least a 309-point margin over its rivals when F1 leaves Japan. That means the team needs to outscore Mercedes by a whopping 1 point or more and ensure that they are not outscored by Ferrari by 24 points or more if they want to clinch another title this weekend. And honestly, unless something goes catastrophically wrong, you never know and all that, I think they'll do it on Sunday. Right then, time for me to make some predictions, and as always, please do not take these too seriously, just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. And last weekend, well, they really couldn't have gone much worse. Literally correct on one thing, and that was Alpine as top of the midfield teams. So let's gloss over that and move on very quickly. As for this one, most teams say they expect Red Bull to be back on form in Japan, and I agree. As I said in the reaction on Sunday, Singapore was probably an outlier and felt very much like those years where Mercedes dominated at most tracks but struggled occasionally at Marina Bay, for example. So I think they will be right at the front this weekend. And then maybe all the conspiracy talk can do one, or some Twitter ex-genius will come up with another load of nonsense to explain it. You know how it goes. But anyway, I don't know what that was about. But I am going with Max Verstappen for pole position on Saturday and the race win on Sunday. As already touched on, the car should be better than it was last time out, and he will undoubtedly want to bounce back in style. So certainly when it comes to the race, I don't see anybody stopping him unless there is some sort of an issue, for example. Behind him, I'm actually going to go with Sergio Perez for P2, therefore comfortably sealing the Constructors title for Red Bull. And I'll put Lando Norris on the final step on the podium. McLaren could go well here, but as always, so could the informed Ferrari and Mercedes. It's been so difficult to pick between those three teams lately. It's a lot of fun to watch though. As for top of the midfield, I think it will be very tight. Again, Alpine could go well, although it is high speed, so maybe not, we'll see. But I've gone with Williams this week as the high speed layout of the circuit should suit their car quite nicely. That's coming from the team as well. As for some random bolder picks, I'll go with Logan Sargent for a Q3 appearance. How about Oscar Piastri for P4? I'd love to see him get a podium, but I'll go with P4. And I'll also say that Pierre Gasly picks up a point or two for Alpine at Suzuka on Sunday. That is it then for the Japanese Grand Prix preview, but don't forget you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comments section down below, and make sure to grab your tickets for the US Grand Prix from headout.com via the link in the description. Hurry though, as the coupon is limited to 10 uses. Now, I will be back live on Saturday with the post-qualifying waffle and live again on Sunday with the usual reaction stream. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like as it really does help the channel out. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.